unlike the children. No one knows how to read.
I can't.
That's the next Stranded theme right there. Literate, illiterate.
About to read the filth out of some All-Stars, I know that. How y'all been? Been a while.
Has been a while. Excited for the season to start and for my quarter to end.
Oh yeah, you should be getting close, huh?
And 10 days.
Damn.
Totally not counting down.
Quarters are bullshit. Just do semesters like every other school.
They are bullshit. I completely agree. I hate them. I have 3 days to turn my grades around. It's ridiculous.
Of people that went to Northwestern, where like all the college kids would come back during the summer, and there was like normal time, and then there was the smart people time, because everyone from Northwestern would get back like in the middle of June.
Danny, are you trying to dox me just before Crazy James can?
I didn't say anything about where you live, and you're a Jewish person
Spoilers.
living in Chicago. You went to Northwestern.
Anyway, I guess we'll get started. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. 33 days, 30 All-Stars, 4 co-hosts, and 1 podcast. This is your host, Poody, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new season of Stranded. It's been a while. We're dusting off our mics, our keyboards, getting ready for another Austranded. We have some exciting information about this to reveal. We're very excited about this season. It's our largest cast outside of season 40, certainly our largest All-Stars. We have a lot to get to. But before we do that, let's introduce the co-hosts. Why don't we start with Danny?
Yo, what up, my bitches?
Obviously, our non-losers, Joaquin and Loveita, are also here.
Joint introduction.
Dude, imagine losing.
Could never.
No, couldn't be me.
It's always me.
Yeah, you do be losing. All right, let's just get into it. I can now reveal, I guess we'll just start off with the major twist of this season, why we're so excited about this particular cast. This is something I've been trying to make happen for not several seasons, but at least I tried for the second Australian Stranded and couldn't get the cast together. Got a pretty low turnout for that casting period. But this time we were fortunate to have a lot of people, so I thought we would go for it. We are doing a secret Rivals season. Very excited about that. The original Austranded was a secret All-Star season, so I try to find ways to keep the All-Stars on their toes, and hopefully this adds another level to that.
Honestly, everyone on this cast is dope as fuck. I'm pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the turnout we got in casting. You'll see it's a little heavier on the newer seasons, as it usually is, but I'm most excited about that, especially because a lot of these people are from newer seasons where we haven't seen them. And sometimes, I think in the case of season 40, it's already been a year since they've played, and there were 40 people in that cast that we have not seen back in other games outside of Mykonos. So I'm pretty excited to see them come back. It seems like they've been gaming. They've gone on to do bigger things. We'll get into who they are in a little bit, but have you guys seen them on Orgy or other org?
Yeah, there's been a couple people from the season 40 cast who have made the way over to some Beviver and Orgy games. Quite a few active in the Alias community over on NDIM. Excited to get to those people when we talk about them. I think it's one of the cool things about doing All-Star seasons. This is, I think you said, the first one since 40, so we got 40 and 41, their first chance to get back at it. I'm always excited for those people who are getting their first chance to play again.
Yeah, I think the lack of seasons is exciting for us too, because it's been a while since we've hosted, and then we haven't been keeping up with the cadence of seasons like we used to. So even just seeing other people back, for some of these people, we don't realize it, but like years have gone by. Thinking back to Kuril Islands, that was at the very start of the pandemic, and that was 4 years ago now. We're going to get into some of those people. I think we can get started. I think we're going to go by rivalries. We're discussing how we should do this with such a big cast. But since we've revealed that there are rivals in this season, I think we should go down the list with the different rivalries. I think I'm just going to go ahead and reveal both of the players in the rivalry. This is a partner season. It's mimicking, in a way, Stranded with Rivals, one of our earlier All-Stars, season 12. We're trying to bring back a little bit of that twist. The major outlier here is that obviously these people won't know that they're partnered with their rivals. They're going to be under the assumption that it's all completely random, which is not the case. And because it's not random, and because their identities are hidden, we're not doing the exact same format as Stranded with Rivals. We're not in that season, in the earlier days, they were voted out as pairs. We're not doing that here because these people won't know that they're rivals. I think that's the most interesting part about this season. It will be seeing how these players who are unaware that they are paired with people that they don't like, seeing how they do with those people. Without further ado, let's get to our first rivalry. I'm going to go with Isolated 6, and then I'll go in reverse order from season 42 down. Starting with Isolated 6, we have Crazy James and James, the two Jameses. Obviously, Crazy James has been a co-host for a while now, very integrated in the community. And James has played in pretty much every season since he's gotten in the server. These two have a lot of, let's say, airtime within the community. It'll be interesting to see how they do in this All-Stars. Let's see. Crazy James is playing as George, King George, from Australian Survivor 6, I believe. And James is playing as Simon. Just Simon. I can't remember what season he's in. Was he in the same season?
Yeah, I think they both started off in Australian Survivor
right.
season 6. Perfect casting, especially given the theme of rivals, because James is the biggest George fanboy on the internet. And so the fact that Crazy James is playing George as his rival, I think is just poetic to me.
I didn't know that, and that's really funny. James has been super active in the Or Universe community recently. I think he even hosted a game recently on that too, so that'll be fun to see. I'm super excited to see both of them playing as rivals and seeing how they do in this secret partnership setting as well.
I unironically thought these were the same people for a solid year.
I mean, that's fair. I don't know. They're both a little cringe, both a little over the top with their obsession for Stranded, which we love, but also makes them easy targets to make fun of. So,
Yeah, of the pairs on the cast, I think this is the one that when I'm just taking an overall look, I'm like, those are going to be the two that are spamming the most in any communication that the pairs have with each other. Like, they're going to be taking it the most seriously on both ends, which is both good because we want people to play the games, but also going to be the people that I'm maybe rooting a little bit against because they want it so bad.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. They're both kind of the type to take advantage of absolutely every opportunity, which normally in a game together that would put them at odds, which is why they ended up rivals in the first place. But here it'll be interesting to see if they turn that into an attempt to try to just take over everything, especially with kind of what's going to be in store for them down the line too.
Has James played in any other? I know Crazy James did like a bunch of B-Viver shit, but
Yeah, James has too. He was just recently in the B-Viver that Danny and I were in. He was playing.
He also played in the
Jesse.
following one as well. And then he's
He's just
hosted
been not.
over there. So
Yeah, and
he's
he
been,
hosted a Big Brother game on Or Universe, so he's
Yeah, I
been
mean,
super
he pretty much-
active there.
he doesn't really have a life, obviously. He's just been playing nonstop.
He's a grad
since-
student who had some time taken away from him. So he didn't have
I mean, I'm here
exactly what
for
he
it.
did. He took advantage of his time off to org nonstop. And,
Yeah, wise.
wiser and smarter.
Sure.
We'll see.
I feel like he's leveled up from his first Isolated outing where he didn't really know what was going on in a lot of ways. He wasn't all there in the game. He obviously made it far. And even in that season, I think he came back. He was like voted out and came back. But then he went into Stranded 40 and he became cringy to a degree of everyone hating him. And then that ramped up a lot in Mykonos, where he was like the target in that season. Very early hit. I think he like wanted an immunity and maybe I can't remember. But either way, everyone was gunning for him and was annoyed that he was around. So I'm loving this like over the top bounce back from nothingness. So I'm curious to see how that evolves in a game where he's in an alias situation, because in the last one he was not alias and everyone was gunning for him. I'll be interested to see how he plays it.
my biggest fear for James, just in general, is like you said, I don't think he's necessarily the most dynamic person to talk to right off the bat. And in this cast, we have some people who are going to be way over the top. And I just think that unless he's really putting in the work to make good inroads, he's just going to be somebody that I think it's a little bit left on the outer personality-wise. I'd love
That's
to
a
be
fair
proven
point.
wrong.
No, I think it's a good point. And he's not played with this caliber of players. He's used to Mykonos was all people that were voted out early in season 40, and they were all like brand new to this. So I don't know how he does against people who have a lot of experience. But we're gonna find out. Crazy James, yeah, I love James. I think he's hilarious. I don't know how he is as a player. I've never seen him play Survivor before. He's played Isolated twice, where I got to watch him, but it'll be interesting to see how he does here.
He made the finals of that Beviver game where he like role played as Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, he trolled as Abe Lincoln, took over the Abe Survivor character there. It was funny. I think he got runner-up or something. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
he said he
so
was
that'll be
planning
really
on.
funny if he takes a more of a troll approach here, and if James takes things like super game body seriously. I think that would be a fun mix too.
He had mentioned something about, I don't know, pretending he was going to be a European who's gay. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see if it'll just be cringe or funny, but we'll see. Either way, it'll be entertaining. Let's go ahead and jump into the season 42 people. I'm very excited about this. I think we had a great cast in season 42. Joaquin kind of related it to his original season of Indonesia, where it wasn't super highly thought of initially, and then in retrospect, a lot of the players in it became huge characters outside of the game. And I think that's probably the same here. Not that either the Andes or Indonesia were particularly bad seasons, but they were probably more predictable, so therefore less highly regarded. However, the casts are very strong. In fact, we got a ton of people who applied from the Andes, but the rivalries weren't there. So we ended up with 4 people. We'll go over the first pair of rivals. I guess we'll start with Jean Robert and Xander. Very excited about these two. Jean Robert in particular was the underdog favorite who eked his way through to the final 5. And Xander was someone who's on the other side of things at the bottom of a majority alliance, but still a different kind of underdog. So I'm really excited to see what they do now. And I know that Xander has had a bunch of experience since playing. Jean Robert is playing as Chrissy. He specifically requested to play as a woman this time. That will be interesting. And then Xander is playing as Alex. Thoughts on these two?
I'm pumped to see both of them back. JR especially. Think that everyone remembers him just spamming all the hosts asking for idols throughout the Andes. And I think his personality is what made us fall in love with him, despite the fact that he was a scrappy underdog that made it to the end. Just given like the dynamics of that season, I think everyone just knew that was the logical outcome. I'm excited to see what he gets to do with the second chance, because I think he's somebody that might take away the wrong lessons, if you want to call them the wrong lessons, from the Andes, and he's going to take his already pretty scrappy personality and turn it up, which that is going to make for some very entertaining games to watch. And then in comparison, I think Xander had the opposite experience where, like you said, he's the bottom of a majority, got dragged through the coals at Final Tribal for not being as dynamic as the rest of the cast. And I think that's something that he's definitely tried in the games that I've seen him in post Andes. So I'm excited to see both of them turn up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous for JR. And that's saying I love JR, dude. But a lot of these people just playing I don't know, it could be very hit or miss. I feel historically in these games, they tend to reward the better players who get a chance to be more aliased, and he just doesn't have as much experience as like the rest of these people. I don't know, but his personality could also just be a hit, and who knows, but
Yeah, I'm really excited to see JR here, especially hearing that he requested the female rep, and if he has an idea of what he wants to do with that, or if he's just trying to go for a really different persona compared to JR, which obviously was a pigeonholed persona we put him in there. And I think it'll be interesting since, yeah, as you guys were saying, he did have a bad go of it in the Andes where he was on a tribe that lost all the time. Then he was in the very underdog position from a very clear majority alliance that was able to go further. From Xander's side of things, I'm really interested in seeing how he does here, because he does have a lot more experience under his belt recently. I don't know exactly how well he's done in all of the seasons he's been playing recently, but I know that he's been playing a lot of them, which in any sense is good to at least be playing more alias type games and getting more of that experience coming into this sort of thing.
I talked to him like he's one of the few people I've actually kept in like contact with, because Team Jew and whatnot. But no, he's actually like fantastic. It's just like the strategy bit that I'm not sure whether or not that's changed. But he can talk with the rest.
I can remember him being very entertaining, almost like a sidekick type to Evie, and I always thought he had a little bit more there than what he had let on. I actually disagree with Danny. I think Jean Robert is going to downplay and enjoy flying under the radar a little bit more this time, and maybe even to his detriment. And I actually think Xander is going to overdo it because he's not remembered as fondly as some of the other characters. And he's had other gaming experience. So I think he's going to come into this hot.
Definitely possible. I think the only thing that I would be let down with here is if neither one of them gives us a nice character performance here. I think both of them have the potential to do it, and I'd like to see it from both of them. So yeah.
I forgot. I'm looking at, I mean, we're not going over the tribes in this, but I forgot Jean Robert's like on the fucking shit show tribe. Like, he actually might thrive in that.
You never know. I actually don't know what the shit show tribe is because they're all crazy.
Yeah, I actually had to go look at the list to be like, which tribe are you joining? But I'm sure we'll go over that
Yep.
kind of at the end.
When in doubt, it's the one with, anyway, I won't spoil it.
Let's move on to our next season 42 pair of rival. We have Jamie and Heather. These are two huge characters that went out early in the merge, but both on very opposite ends of the spectrum. Heather kind of arose as like this really fiery member of the Green Tribe. I can't remember who they were. That kind of was one of the first early boots in that tribe outside of the pagonging of the other tribe. And so we got to see a different side from her, a really fiery side that I'm excited to see come back. What happens when she's like that from the very start of the season? She's another one who's played in a lot of orgs since, I believe. Jamie has not, though. Jamie is someone who was super likable, one of the favorites for sure. I don't know how her overall gameplay is necessarily, but I do know that she's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have both Jamie and Heather back. I feel like we're going to be saying that about everybody on the cast. But Jamie especially, and in terms of having this really social perspective, I'm interested in seeing how she's going to do in an Alias game. Since I know original Stranded is Alias, but she can still be very open about herself and her family and all of that. I'm not sure she's going to be able to do that here, or if that's going to work out the same way in a new Alias situation. So I'm interested in seeing how she handles that. And I just really want to see more Heather play.
Yeah, by the way, Jamie is playing as Kez and Heather is playing as Kirby. I think they'll be fun. I feel better about Heather, to be honest, going into this. I'm worried about Jamie's lack of experience playing against some very experienced people, but you never know. Sometimes that plays to people's advantage. People like talking to someone new. She's certainly very likable instantly. I think it's a good mix of people in this season that anything could possibly happen.
On the traditional kind of non-Alias All-Star season, Heather is exactly the kind of person you would predict would win, where it was under the radar the first time, so all the big names get voted out first, and then they turn it up a notch the second time.
Yeah, I feel that way about both of these players. Just if you're looking just like on paper at a run-of-the-mill season, I think that they're people that you would expect to make the merge. And from there, like Joaquin said, it's big threat-itis, whatever you want to call it. But since it's Alias, who knows? I think it is a little nerve-wracking that both of them kind of lack extended history in gaming. But at the same time, like Poody said, we have a good mix here. The things that I'm most excited about specifically with Jamie is I just remember she was in tune with what was happening. She was the person who always had the correct read in her confessionals of which people are more closely aligned with who's telling her the truth and who isn't. She just has a really good knack picking up on the social dynamics, which I think is really going to serve her well here, especially as somebody who doesn't have the extensive strategic experience from years of games. Heather, I'm just more excited for Heather to expand my vocabulary. I learned so many good white people insults from her last season, calling people scallywags and ackadoos, whatever she had in her confessional. I'm just really excited to read that again. I find her hilarious.
Let's move on because we have a lot to get to, although we love everyone we've spoken about. This next pair, we're getting into season 40 now. We have quite a few people from this season. Obviously, it was a huge cast, but I'm very excited about the ones that we did end up getting at. I think I had a lot of people to choose from on this season. A lot of people were interested in playing. It was actually hard to whittle them down to the ones that we did get. But let's go ahead and start with one of my favorite pairs overall of rivals, Ricard and Tyler. Both of these guys have co-hosted since their season, both very involved. Tyler more so than Ricard, but Ricard is also an old school gamer going way back. I can remember him on the early AIM days of gaming, pre-Stranded. He was a popular name on those. He's someone who I really have been wanting to get back into a season, and this is a perfect opportunity, and Tyler as well. Tyler is playing as Mark from the latest season of Australian Survivor rather, and Ricard is playing as Sam. So these two I think are going to be, I would be shocked if either of these guys go very early.
I'll back you on that. I don't see a way either of them go early. I think they're both really strong socially, and I think they're both strong strategically. They're both just really strong players in general, and I think they'll be able to navigate a lot of the crazy that comes their way pretty well, and I think it'll be interesting to see them in a situation where they might be working more together than against each other.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see both of them. I wasn't co-hosting for season 40, so I don't have a great idea of how Ricard plays. But I did have Tyler as one of my good buddies in a game that I played recently, and I just really like the way that he approaches just the game in general. He's good with the strategy. He's a great social player. His shtick was hilarious. Like, he's just a funny guy. So I have a lot of faith in Tyler doing really well here. Ricard, I've only heard good things, so I'm excited to watch him.
I know nothing about either of these people except I think I replaced Ricard in a game like 10 years ago. I was like his replacement. So
Where the fuck were y'all? Y'all weren't here for the last season?
for
season
me-
40?
No, I blacked out that season.
I was here, Poody. It's okay.
Thank you. And
I was
when
in
I
a
needed help the
psychiatric
most.
hold.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, I remember Ricard being like, I cut you off midway. Walk, you can continue. Sorry.
No, I literally have nothing to say. Like I don't know anything about these people.
Okay, good. Ricard, I remember Ricard being like spicy Tyler. If we had,
Yeah.
if we, like, my mind goes straight to, this is a hot take, to Lost, where you had Jacob and whatever the evil one was. That's Ricard and Tyler to me.
Smoke
Like, both
monster?
very, what's that? Yeah, the smoke monster.
Smoke
Jacob,
monster? Yeah.
whatever his name was, the brother. Was it? I don't know. Whoever. But that's these two. One is white hat, one's black hat. Both like super strategic, funny, around the same age, gay, but both like very different sides of that coin. Tyler is like a really nice guy, and they're both nice, but Tyler is like a very, I don't know. Ricard has a little bit of evil in him that is very fun. And so it's a fun dynamic watching these two as a pair, I think. There's nothing else. Okay, let's move on to the next pair in season 40. I think this is a pair that everyone is most excited about in terms of rivalries. We have Lindsay and Will. Certainly, I would say the two breakout stars of season 40. They had a rivalry the entire season. I think they were in most of the tribes together, and it was a long season with a lot of people, yet those two just continued to be frenemies all the way throughout until the very end when they finally took shots at one another, and then I think they went even like back to back maybe. Just a really entertaining pair. Both of them in their own rights are very great, are good players in different ways, but I think Will is one of the most entertaining people I've ever seen in any season. And I would put Lindsay in that category too, just from an underdog standpoint. So I'm very excited to see these two back.
Yeah, to talk a little bit more about both of them in 40, they definitely were in that situation where they wanted to just go against each other basically from the start, if I'm remembering correctly. They were on the very same starting tribe. Lindsay kind of got blindsided by the mic thing. And then I think that's where Lindsay and Will started not getting along and started wanting to go after each other. But from that point on, in every situation, they needed each other to survive, basically. But the whole time we're just ranting about each other in confessionals, and there's some of the funniest confessions. To go back and read Will with all of his emojis and Lindsay with all of her color-coded organization, just hating each other so much. So I'm really excited to see them both back as rivals, especially here. And just in general, to see them both back, to see how they do, and see if Will can hide his persona a little bit under a new person. We'll see. I think she has the potential to do really well, though, so I'm excited for that.
The only way I can describe Will to Joaquin and Danni, who are apparently didn't even see this season, is that he's the gay male version of Jillian. He was
A little less flirting.
Yeah, not as horny, but he did post a lot of emojis and everything he posted. So it was almost like those memes where they take like a dirty paragraph and replace like half the words with emojis. It was that, but in every conversation, the entire.
Yeah, the coach,
He's-
what was his
he
name?
is
Copy
the
pasta. He is
personified-
that. That was
Yeah,
his
the
confession.
personified horny holiday text messages. Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, I always send Danny those.
Literally, I know
I
it's a
get them
holiday when I
too.
get the text message from Joaquin.
I
Okay.
get it from
There we go. Spread the love.
Shane.
Yeah, that's Will. And I just remember him annoying the shit out of everyone, but for some reason sticking around and having this false sense of power over Lindsay. Like, I feel like at one point she was on her way out and he was like lording over her in public. It was very strange. It was such a hot mess that I'm very excited for this.
Like, in terms of the rivalries we've talked about so far, that's going to be one where it gets revealed after the season. They're going to be like, what?
Yeah, if they don't
And
clock
freak
each
out.
other first.
Yeah.
They spent so
now
much
with the
time
way you guys-
together.
I was going to say, now that you guys are explaining it to me, now I'm very excited for this one. I was just more season 40 people, but this sounds like a lot of fun.
No, season 40 was cracked in the best way. I'm excited for all of them. And like I said, we had 40 people to pick from, basically. A lot of the people. I would say I probably had maybe 15 people from this season wanted to come back. So really, we picked like the cream of the crop. And I know there's a lot of season 40 people, but they're all very good characters.
Also taking into consideration that 41 was just 40 players.
Right.
They're all crazy, cracked, hungry gamers, all of them.
Moving on to, might as well knock them all out. Our next pair, Jacob and Jay. This is a very interesting pair because they're both serious gamers, but one is very bad and one is very good at gaming. I don't know what Jacob has done since. I've heard it's more of the same. He was infamous in his season for not reading any of the rules and always fucking up and getting a penalty. And
Dude,
it sounds
I
like
fucking love this guy.
that seems to have continued in his next season. He's also the one who was very hyped about the Jew crew, even though he's not Jewish, I think. He's just really fucking funny in the most self-deprecating way possible. And then you have Jay, who's one of the best players to come out of season 40, was an odds-on favorite to win the whole thing, won a lot of the challenges, huge threat, had idols. He was also famous for like his monotone confessionals that lasted for an hour, like when he would record, but a super entertaining, funny guy outside of his podcast voice. But these two are really solid characters that I'm very excited to see back as a pair. Maybe they'll balance each other out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Should have a chance.
Go ahead, Loveita.
Go ahead. I'll do it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how much
Hello?
of a chance we'll see them to work together, considering we'll be separating all the rivalries for tribes. I feel like we can at least say that much. That none of the rivals are going to be on the same starting tribes, at least. But in terms of how this is going to go, yeah, Jacob was the first boot when he tried Beeviver because he could not figure out the forums. So that kind of stopped him pretty quickly. He gracefully bowed out there after complaining a lot to BZ. And then Jay is just, he's our actual Australian. I don't know who you have him. It looks like he's playing as Emmett. So he is, I think, our only actual Australian on the cast.
Yes. And actually, yeah, probably. And then Jacob's playing as Eden, which is just perfect casting, really.
Yeah, my only exposure to either of these two players has been Jacob, who I've seen in a couple games, and from the sounds of it, same exact reputation. Just can't get the hang of the forums and the challenges early, winds up taken out. He's on this cast one of the people that I think will be the easiest to pick out, even if he is doing his best to alias himself, which makes me nervous for him in some regards. I just think it's always bad when people can pick you out of the crowd in a game like this. However, just given his reputation, that could also help him. But I worry for him because I don't think there's anything he can do to hide who he is. And then Jay, I'm excited to get to know and to watch.
Nice. Let's move on to our next pair, another season 40 pair. Both of these players were pre-merge in their original season. Dominic and Stephanie. Stephanie, of course, came back to win season 41. Here she is back again. She was the pre-merge cockroach, where she lasted after everybody was targeting her all the time. And Dominic was someone who really handsed his way out of the game. Just really domineering, over the top, crazy personality that game to game nonstop until everyone just had enough of it. These two are going to be very fun to watch. Stephanie in general is both times she was incredible at the game and also just personality wise. And then Dominic is a complete crackhead. So this will be fun.
I didn't watch season 40, but I did host both of these two in the last rematch, and they're both crazy people. Absolutely insane. I don't know how you're still finding crazies this far into Stranded, Poody. But I'm really excited to see both of them play an actual game. From my experience, Stephanie is just like the classic over the top, like your face, crass humor that we love to watch. Everything that she does is just hilarious to me. But then she does have the strategic chops and the relationship building skills to back it up, which works in her favor. Dominic, on the other hand, is just so serious and takes the strategy and the like seriousness of everything and just focuses in on it and like barrels in, which was interesting. And I guess I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out with this cast because I think there are some people that come to games, have fun more so than anything else. That's all they want. And I think that this cast has some of those people, and I don't think that's with too well.
Dominic is not one of those people.
Oh yeah, didn't he like get destroyed at the end and then have a complete meltdown?
Of rematch, that track.
Yeah, he was in like the group that like tried way too hard and then got super upset about losing.
I'll say this, and maybe this is too personal, but I think he was going through a divorce and he had like a custody battle at this time. He seems like a really nice guy. He's just crazy. But I guess that would make anyone crazy. The problem with Dominic is that I don't think that was a symptom of his divorce. I think it was just him, maybe a little bit more stressed out than usual, but he's been a pretty good sport after the fact, even in his seasons. I think the rematch thing might have been an outlier. He's certainly kept in contact with me, so I don't think he's like too upset or butthurt about it, but I actually predict that Dominic will go very early this season. I think he's going to be a Garrett here. I see him really overplaying his hand immediately. And I think it worked for him in season 40 with new players. I don't think it'll work here.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I think he might try to go too hard, too fast here to his detriment. I think what I'll say with Dominic is really dedicated player. He will put 180% into this. And in some cases that'll work out really well, in others it won't. He's the type of player who likes to find a crew and stick with that and make that his crew. I don't know if that will play well here with the types of players we're going to have on this season. If that's the type of game they'll want to play, or if they want to play a much more fluid game. And I think that might be his biggest downfall. Stephanie, yeah, she's hilarious. I say this as a compliment. This is Austranded. She is a cunt, and we love it.
Yeah, I think she will. I think Dominic goes very early, and I think Stephanie stays around until early merge.
Yeah, I could see that.
Either way, this will be a fun one to watch as well. I feel like I've said that about all of them, but
yeah, and I think here too we're introducing some interesting like cross rivalries too. Like Stephanie and Jacob also could have been a rivalry. I think Dominic and James, Stephanie and James could have also been rivalries.
Yeah, that whole season just hates one another, which is fantastic.
Yeah, there's a lot of messy stuff in there. That'll be fun to see how that plays out in new aliases.
It's probably going to be like that time when we all played in a season of Beviver together. Good time. Moving on, let's get to our Tanzania folks. So obviously that was a big season full of huge characters for us. We have 4 players returning from that, 2 rivalries. And I'm very excited about a lot of them because in many cases they weren't people who have come back yet. Some have, but to varying degrees of success. Let's first go over Dan and Kara. These two very big characters that season. Kara, of course, made all the way to the end of the season. Dan did not. Dan was the cop who was, I believe he was a right wing. He was very cut and dry, very unlikable character. Dan is back. I was very shocked when he applied. So I, of course, said yes. He's playing as Gerald. And Kara is playing as, who is she? Mimi. Kara, I think she came back in Austranded 2 and did not do very well there. She didn't really have the time to play. And she really came to me in this season and said, please give me another chance. I know I fucking bombed the second time, but I really think I have another good one in me. And it just so happened to be a rival season, and I think she'll do well here. So I gave her another shot.
Yeah, Kara's great. Lots of Taylor Swift stuff. I wonder she tries to be somebody else. Dan, I
Yeah.
remember he was in like that Four Horsemen alliance of all the bros that like tried to bro out together and then should have been picked off before Aaron squirmed to the end.
Yeah, I just remember him fighting with everyone and going out. I know he had a daughter, I think, at the time, or son maybe, and that was endearing. But aside from that, he was just like a dick.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for this pairing. Tanzania was a great season, specifically for the reason, like you said, Poody, you have characters like Dan who are just sometimes unlikable and were willing to fight and put themselves in situations that you just wouldn't expect to see in a game like this. Most people are like, I have a little bit of social awareness. So I'm really excited to see a player like that on this cast. I think it's a nice shake-up from your typical All-Star season. And then Kara, yeah, I agree. The Taylor Swift thing was such a huge part of her personality. I wonder, is she going to be a Nick fan this time? What's her choice going to be? But yeah, she's a great player. She's very likable. And when she puts the time in and can commit to a game, she's done great. So I'm excited to see her back. I think that this will be a good chance for her.
And I think that's a good segue into our next pair because she was aligned with one of them in particular. We have Allison and Dean, very controversial pair in their season because they had a showmance, except Dean was gay. So they're known for their over the top raunchy messages to one another the entire season, only for Dean to have been playing her the whole time because of course he's just some horny gay man. Two very big characters. Allison has yet to come back from any season, but she was huge in Tanzania, one of the players that everyone was most looking forward to seeing come back. And so this will finally be her opportunity. And of course, Dean came back in Isolated where he flopped. So this will be his chance at redemption here.
I think this is another rivalry that probably is one of the more guessable of them. If you were saying, yeah, we're going to do a rival season, this is probably one people would to maybe be there because of how iconic their showmance to hate mance to gaslight mance was and how all that went. But yeah, all of the alarm clock references always bring both of them to mind. But in terms of how they're going to approach this season, Dean always, every time I've seen him play, he always makes a decent pre-merge game and then ends up in the early to mid-merge boot for a variety of different reasons. And I don't know if we're going to end up seeing that again here. Allison, I'm excited to see her come back, to see Allie come back and play again and see what she's got in here. She's definitely much more of a social gamer than a strategist. So interesting to see how she meshes with the rest of the cast here.
Yeah, none of them will win challenges. We know that.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty pumped to see both of these two here. Evan Poody said, I think that this is one of the very clear rivalries that if you at any point could figure out the theme, that would be one of the ones that would pop into your head, just given their history. Like Loveita said, I'm really excited to see Allie get a second chance. I think she was great in her season. She was a fun personality, and she played a great social game, but I do wonder, John was such a huge part of that season and that alliance that he was a part of. He was really doing the majority of the legwork, so I'm interested to see if Allie coming back is going to be able to take the reins herself and guide herself strategically, not as like part of a bigger group. Then as far as Dean goes, I think he's one of those people that when he turns it on, he's really great. And when he is committed and determined to do well in a game, he can go far. And I think Stranded is a important part of his gaming career, so I think he'll take this seriously. And if that's the case, if he's going to be fully committed, I'm thinking that he'll do pretty well here. I could easily see him making merge, if not further. But there is, just like Loveita said, he does have a history of kind of being that like early merge boot. It's an easy consensus. And so I'm interested to see if he can get out of that rut that he's been in lately.
I also know he takes losing very poorly. He hated Crazy James for the longest time for IDing him and Isolated and swiftly voting him out for it. So that'll be fun. They could have been rivals, but obviously they had their own rivals. And it'll be fun. There's a lot of cross rivalries this season that stem even outside of Stranded. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and move on to our Kuril Islands pair, season 35. We have Eric and Jillian. Very entertaining pair in their original season. Both two very ends of the spectrum, both villains, but Jillian was more of that comedic relief, like Philip from Survivor, whereas Eric was more of like the true villain, guy that you're rooting against because he's so blunt and ready to cut anybody. So these two will be a very fun pair. Cotton Candy Dick is back.
Dude, I just gotta say, Jillian is like my favorite player of all time. Without a question. She's so funny. And is she going to be first boot here? Probably.
I don't know. Look, she did
Dude.
well in Isolated All-Stars.
Dude, okay. But
Yeah, but we knew who she was. Wasn't an alien.
Dude,
Okay,
Dean
but
and her
she's
are
not
going to
be
sex.
aliased here.
Touche.
He's going to be so easy to clock, though.
Yeah. The minute she starts talking about BBC, it's over. And Dean and Jillian are on the same tribe to start off with, so.
Yeah. We talk about some people maybe being easier to identify or not be like you talked about Jacob maybe not being able to hide behind an alias. Jillian, I don't know if it's possible. I'll be impressed.
The only
I'd be
person worse
excited
would
if
have
she
been
hide behind an alias on purpose.
the only person worse that would have been Christian Country Boy, I think.
Yeah, if we're going in like a tier ranking there as to who would be able to hide their alias the worst, they're at the top.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think Jillian lasts a majority of the pre-merge and goes out right before the merge, thus providing us with a glorious pre-merge entertainment. Isolated All-Stars was her most recent season. I have to say, I think she saved that season from complete boredom outside of the decent gameplay that was going on. She kept us entertained that entire time with her harem of sexed partners through that entire season. New lows have been reached. My eyes have never quite recovered from reading all of those messages that season.
And
I don't
some
know
of those were inflicted by Dean.
That's true. I don't know what will happen this season, but I can't imagine that those two don't immediately start sexting.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm pumped to see Jillian back. She's a character every time she's here. Like everyone said, I don't think she can hide who she is. I don't think anybody is going to have any questions about who's playing Rogue here. It's just going to be pretty obvious. I'm really pumped to see Eric back, though. I think that he was underrated for how funny he was in the Curl Islands, just because we had Jillian there the entire time also being hilarious, and I think everyone immediately goes to her. Eric was just so blunt, and he was calling people out and just would say the funniest shit. And I'm excited to see him back getting another shot.
Yeah, he had that Eastern European broken English thing where he was just like overly blunt. Reminds me of Vetus a little bit. But he was infamous for having applied like 5 times and getting rejected every time until we finally took a flyer on him, even though a lot of people were telling me not to cast him. I was like, I gotta cast this guy. He's applied like 10 times. And he was fantastic. Even though he wasn't the most active, he was still hilarious and managed to make a run of it and has been asking to come back ever since. So I think he's just like a super Stranded fan, and I love that. And I love that he's just a little villainous. I love that he's really blunt. I love that he is willing to get into arguments with people. I think he even got into it like Reem and some other people that season. He's someone I'm more excited about him than Jillian, because while I enjoy Jillian every time and she's one of our biggest characters, we haven't seen as much from Eric. So I'm excited to see what he gives us.
I think he will be super interesting in terms of providing a little bit more of that self-aware villain who likes to mess around with things.
The interesting thing for him is I don't think anybody in his tribe even knows who he is. Like, even if he was like unaliased, like no one would know who he is.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right, let's move on because it's getting late and we still have 5 more pairs to get through. In the next pair, we have an Austranded rivalry, the first Austranded, but these two are both iconic players in their own right, one of which is one of our first icons of Stranded. Nofo is coming back after his epic performance as Shawnee in the first Austranded. And his rivalry is with Christina, who played Phoebe in that season. Christina is of course, from Stranded in Sri Lanka, where she was the runner-up. Huge challenge beast, very entertaining player. Nofo is also a good challenge competitor and very funny. They both got very similar in a lot of ways. So this will be interesting to see, if not knowing who each other is, if they will get along. If you really think about it, having 2 Nofos in a room, like they're going to hate each other.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, this rivalry works because they're so similar and because neither one of them would put up with what they put other people through. I think that this is going to be a perfect pairing.
Also, like on that season, literally like Nofo, like the whole reason this is a quote unquote rivalry was like Nofo ranked Christina or Phoebe as like his number one ally. And then he was just like, who's that? I don't even know who that is. Like Nofo was obsessed with him. Hey,
Oh my god. Yeah,
That was such a clusterfuck of a tribe too. Like incredible.
I think this is gonna be the most entertaining rivalry, even though they're not like the typical they're just both so fucking crazy. This will be fun.
Yeah.
who's
Having
Phoebe
played,
play?
I had it
Liz.
pulled up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Phoebe's really into Oz Survivor and tries to get into character. I know, but
Yeah, she'll be playing as Liz, who's a winner from their Heroes
Liz
versus
is like a
Villains
Russian
season.
track star, so that's gonna lend us some great impersonations. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I've played with Phoebe recently, actually, and just much like just been saying with both of them, like just some of the most manic energy you can imagine. It was really difficult to work with at times, but also there was always a point to the madness. And she went on, I think she got third in that season or something. Like she plays very well despite manic energy, and so I think that she could do very well here.
Speaking a little bit about Nofo, I know he's someone who's played like 80 times, but I do think recently he's perfected his game, most recently winning Beeviver. He did message me saying he was the most excited about this season than he's been in a very long time. And he's even gone as far as to like, he wanted to be a male this season to throw everyone off. He has been hiding the fact that he has a new puppy so that he can share that in this season. Like he's taking this very seriously in a way
Incredible.
that no, I'm excited to see what he does with that.
Yeah, I think they both have the potential to do very well here.
So these two are a rivalry to look out for. I think they'll both do very well. I agree with you, Loveita, barring some weird twist or potential Nofo meltdown midway. Or anything goes, really. Let's go into our next pair. This is another pair that I actually think might do pretty well. Jed and Rob from Morocco both have played at least twice, but both have done varying degrees of success after their first season. Rob was known for being very entertaining, but also a serious gamer, and then he came back in Austranded and did not do as well. Jed similarly was known for his gameplay, came back into Tuamotus and did fairly well, but he was the odds-on favorite to win and then got cut pre-merge because of that. So I think Jed can do very well under an alias here. I think that was his problem he was favored to win in that Tuamotus season. So I think here with an alias, he stands a better chance. And similarly, I think Rob with an alias, he'll have less people gunning for him. Rob's been through a rough time personally, it seems like too. So we'll see what happens here. I'm interested to see how these two have grown since their season.
Yeah, definitely excited to see both of them back. I agree with you, Poody. I think Jed, when you like look at him on paper, just stands out every time as, oh, that's like the exact kind of personality who winds up winning. He's just funny enough. You remember who he is, but he's not such a big presence that you like automatically look at him as the biggest threat. He's strategic enough, but he's fun at the same time. Like people just don't see him coming. And then in both of his stranded outings, the first time he gets idled out by Rob pre-merge and then comes back as primed to go on another run. And then everybody had metagamed it so hard that he was just like immediately clocked as someone they can't let get too far. I do think, yeah, the re-alias is really going to help him here. I think for Rob, one thing that goes undermentioned is like that first season, he wound up going on like an immunity run there near the end and really gave a Ziggy a run for his money for the win, and then just fell short because he slept through the final challenge. So I think that'll be one of his strengths here in this game, is being somebody who can be a strong competitor in the challenges and carry his tribe through the beginning.
I'll speak a little bit about their alias. I know I talked a lot about them, but specifically, I really wanted to give Jed a serious female character. I wanted somebody who can soften his threat level after Tuamotus. And of course, I give him like one of the most strategic players of all time with probably a huge reputation in Haley. But I actually think he might do better with a female rep in this season. I think it'll make him a little bit more approachable, and I think other people will potentially want to play with him more. And then I gave Rob Raymond, who was like a goofball character, and I actually think that might soften him too. So really, I tried to help these guys. I tried to set most people up with something different from their original outing, as well as giving them like the best chance of success, as well as who were they interested in playing. I was pretty strategic about assigning reps this season of who I thought.
Yeah, my lack of Oz Survivor knowledge is going to come through, but I do think that putting Jed at least under a female rep makes a lot of sense for those reasons, and I'm really interested in seeing him play because I haven't gotten the chance to actually see him play after what happened in Tuamotu. And Rob, I guess I saw him play a little bit in Austranded, but as you were saying, Poody, he's had a rough go of it personally for a while. I'm really excited to see him. I know he likes to put a lot of his energy into how he's feeling, into how he's playing. So we'll see how that kind of translates for him this season.
It's also worth noting, both of these guys were in an original alliance with Morocco Stephanie, and when they both returned, they both played with her again in their second outing, and I think in both cases it hurt them playing with her in their second time. So here they're without her. Of course, they're paired together now. We'll see if that hurts them, but I think that might factor in. Let's move on to the next pair. Another exciting pair, both of whom have returned before. We have from Stranded and Socotra, Garrett and Spencer. Garrett, of course, we all love, is one of the biggest characters of all time. And Spencer is one of the most loyal patrons of Stranded. Let's say he's always posting in the server. Everybody knows him. Very funny guy, very good challenger, like one of the top challengers maybe of all time. Garrett is not one of the top challengers, but he is very funny. So we'll see what happens with this pair. I think Garrett he says he's going to temper his gameplay early on. He's got a new alias this time, so that should help him. I don't think he can help himself, but we're here for the ride. And Spencer, I just want Spencer to step up a little bit as a character this season and show some of the funny side, because Benji was not it.
I am so excited for this pairing. I think I've said that about a lot of people, but this one is just like off the charts entertainment wise. There's nothing Garrett can do that doesn't make me laugh. So, like, just everything about him is going to be delivering me so much joy. As for Spencer, like you said, Spencer is an underrated challenge beast. He's super social and has the potential to just be similarly hilarious and memorable as a personality as well. So I'm excited to see both of them bring that energy into their starting tribes and to liven up what can sometimes be like a little bit of a slog. All-star games sometimes can get super strategic. So I'm glad we have so many people here who are character forward.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing how both of them approach this season, especially with Spencer running on the original Stranded. And Garrett always just being Garrett so far as I've seen him. I really want to see how both of them go into starting their respective seasons to see if they take a very different approach, if they really try to take it seriously, if they just can't help themselves, like Poody was saying. Garrett probably can't, but we'll see.
Yeah, this will be one to watch for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pair. Getting down to our earlier seasons, the next four are all technically from Stranded for Revenge, our 16th season, but a lot of them have played in earlier seasons. We'll go through that as well. But this next pair has potentially one of our biggest icons, a Stranded icon on paper. Cataly, played by Blonzilla, is returning again. Always will have Cataly, no matter whenever she wants to play, she's got a spot. But as we know and love her, we know she's going to be a big character no matter what. She's partnered here with Ian from Stranded in India, which is our 7th season. He's also returned in Australia, which was our second All-Star season, confusingly enough. And then he came back in Refuge, as I said, where he was on a tribe with Cataly, who voted him out, of course. Ian was someone who, we're talking about maybe ago at this point, 16 years ago that he played his first season. He has since been, I think at that time he had been through the military. Now he's got a family, I think. Very interested to see how he's progressed. Someone who's not been in the community and has not been in gaming much. So that's always fun and just always cool to get an old schooler. He's technically the oldest school player we have this season from the earliest season. Of course, I had to say yes and find him a rival. And Cataly wanted to play in this season. There we go. We got a pair.
Yeah, I don't think I know much about Ian, if anything, but I always love seeing old schoolers come back and seeing what they bring to an all-star season, especially where we're going to have, 12 of the players are from season 40 and later. Having somebody coming from the early ages is a lot of fun to see how they're going to mesh in and integrate with each with everybody, especially coming in under an alias. And then Cataly is just everything. I don't really have much to add about her except that super excited to see her play, and everybody should always be excited to see Cataly play.
I will say, Walk, she did originally approach me asking to do the Allies season with you, but when I told her that wasn't happening, she still wanted to play.
Hopefully that's boring. I think he's gonna win. But I don't know if that's too boring. It's more too lovey-dovey that you just simply should. This is like the perfect season for her. I don't know.
I think she really wants it too. I know she's gone through quite a few final tribal losses the past year or so. I think she's been in like 3 or 4 where she's ended up losing. So I think she really wants a win. And I think she could be due for one.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, not to continue hopping on Cataly's dick here, but that was exactly my thought coming into this analysis of the analysis of the cast. Is just that she stands out so much as somebody who is just primed to win this thing. She is well experienced in aliasing herself. She's a great player. She knows Stranded. She gets the humor. Like, she'll fit in perfectly. I just see this as her season to lose.
Yeah, Cataly being the third 2-time winner of Stranded feels correct, but I will, and I do think she has obviously a great chance of winning. She's someone who's proven herself time and time again. One thing I will throw out there that Cataly always references, even when we refer people to her games, is that Stranded has like this type of player, and you guys know I love to find the crazies. That is not Cataly's jam. I could see her being used to playing with very similar-minded people in Orgy, although a lot of them are here, to be fair. There are a lot that aren't. I could see that throwing her, where maybe she's not used to people being completely irrational and making moves that are outside of their strategic best interest. So I do think that is potentially a wrench in her plans. This is also a very chaotic season in the schedule in terms of like twists. So I could see the chaotic nature of Stranded getting the better of her in a situation where she's probably used to playing with more level-headed, serious gamers. Stranded likes to throw in the crazies, and we've got plenty for her that she has probably never experienced. That would be my one hiccup there. And Ian in his original season was known for being the sidekick to Katie, who is, I think, still to date, maybe Rudy's tied her now as the person who's returned the most. Just a huge character that he was like very close with, got betrayed by, and then in the next season was very against. And he's like an angsty, good guy sidekick, I'd say. So that will be interesting to be paired with Cataly because they're very similar to Katie's game style. And actually, that could bode well for both of them. So we'll see.
Throwing back just about your Cataly point, Poody, I do think this is, with her not wanting to work with the wild card so much, like liking the measured strategic responses, I do think she's the person I'm most worried about being able to correctly ID players like Jacob and Jillian, players where like there's a proven history of them just being hard to read. She's the person that I could see out of this cast being like, oh, that's 100% Jillian, take her out now.
Yeah, and looking at the players that she's on a tribe with, I think she'll be able to ID James. She'll probably be able to ID Xander, maybe Alina, someone that has been around Orgy for a long time, but a lot of them have not. Like, there's not a chance she knows who Eric is. She's probably never played with Kara, Lindsay.
There is a story with Lindsay, actually.
That's right.
She host Lindsay in B-Viver, and I don't think that came out of that liking each other.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, so there is the caveat of I always know talking to Cataly because I'll refer people and she's like, all right, don't give me any like problem children. You know what I mean? And I'm very prone to, if there is a problem child, I want them. And I want them like every time I can possibly get them. Whereas she's very much, I don't want them. I don't want to deal with that. I'm like, let me deal with them. So I do wonder how she'll react with people on her tribe and in her sphere that are crazy because we definitely have some in this cast. So that will be interesting. But to move on to our last pair, our last rivalry, this is yet again another old school pair going back to Refuge. Alina and Aaron. These are both old school gamers. They predate Stranded in their gaming history, but they have a solid history in Stranded itself as well. Actually, Alina was in Cataly's season that she casted. She's got a long storied history of gaming. Alina was an interesting one because I wasn't expecting to get her. I reached out to a lot of old schoolers to try to fish for people who were interested. And she's someone who we recently had a falling out. She had joined the board a little while ago and got mixed up in some of the, let's say, more controversial characters. But I had a really good conversation with her after she sent in her application, where she's been sober for 3 or 4 years. It's a straight guy. He now has a serious girlfriend that he lives with and has dogs with, and seems to have really turned his life around. And that interests me tremendously, especially having a storied history with her from her past season. She was someone who got kicked out of her first season of Stranded for cheating. She came back and made the finals, but was not very necessarily well liked. It seems like she's had substance abuse issues that have led to a lot of problems in her life that she's now reconciled with. So I'm here for a redemption arc. That's a very good story coming into an all-star season, and especially an old school player from season 14. I was like, sign me up. So when she did finally commit this last week, we were originally going to have 28 players. We bumped it to 30 because at the same time, another iconic Stranded all-star old school player from season 10, Aaron, who came back in Refuge and had the infamous alliance with Cataly and Brenda. Aaron also came back for Legends, where she flopped. Hadn't been invited back since because of that, but I reached out and talked to her. She's been in tons of orgs, and she was game to come back. I think she's living in Germany now, but she was very much interested in potentially redeeming that story arc. I can't believe you actually want me back after I flopped, and I was like, yeah, that was like 10 years ago, and I don't remember it. To be honest, I just remember her iconic performances before that as a challenge beast, idol queen, and really entertaining character. So this pair, I am personally most excited for as a pair that I've been trying to get back for a long time. They both come back with a great story. They were both in a season together. They both went the distance together and voted one another out. I think this is going to be a really fun pair of players that have not been in games for a while. Maybe they play one a year, if that, but I'm very excited to see them come back to Stranded.
Yeah, funny because I don't know too much about either of them through Stranded, obviously. Although I will say, when I was doing all my dissertation stuff, Aline's final tribal council performance was one of the most memorable for my research assistants. They were always talking about it. Although I think she got very drunk during that performance. This is another redemption arc in that regard too. But I actually just played with Alina in Org Universe games, so they've been active playing around there. I remember being just really funny, so I'm excited to see them play here. And Aaron's name I also recognize from recent Org Universe games, but I'm not sure if we've played together. But I'm interested in seeing her come back too, especially with this Challenge Beast record under her belt.
Yeah, I love my old school players, and I also love people who maybe don't have the best history with me, but time passes. Like, it's been like 10 years since they last played Stranded, so you get that little bit of perspective. And then I've talked to people every now and then that we come to an understanding of, hey, that was a long time ago. I don't even remember what we possibly could have been fighting over, if we were even fighting. I can't even honestly tell you. I just know there was something there. And it's always interesting to see people be like, you know what, I'll give it another shot. Let's see. I got nothing going on this month or whatever. And it's really fun to see how they do, if nothing else than to just see them come back. But yeah, Alina, I did do some research into Refuge to try to suss out the pairings here, because we have 4 players from that season, but it's a long time ago and I don't really remember the dynamic. But one of the things I did remember reading over is Alina's confessionals, which at the time were probably hilarious, where she's talking about she's getting sloshed and she's drunk. But knowing the context now that she's a recovering alcoholic, it's actually really sad when you look back and think about just how serious that was. Because I think at the time I probably took it as a joke, as she wasn't being serious, but I think she was just probably getting drunk every night playing Stranded. And it's a cool story to see someone having turned it around and doing better. And now that we're a little older and wiser. So I'm interested to see how she plays as a sober player, maybe 10 years after she first played. With that, I know I brought the mood down with that serious note, but that's one of the things that excites me the most about new seasons. I did want to talk about them last because that's the pair I'm most interested in seeing back again. But all in all, we have a fantastic group of players. I don't see any fat in here. I do think there might be players who might be less active and thus might not do as well, but overall, I think this is a fantastic cast. While it does have a lot of players from newer seasons, it still has a lot of the old schoolers. There's a lot of people in this season. There's 30 of them. That's the most we've ever done. We're going to be cutting people left and right. Got a lot of interesting game plans going on in the Australian Survivor tradition. It's bigger, it's faster, there's more twists, it's a little looser with the gameplay. And so we're going to try to replicate a little bit of that. Get a little wild, more wild than we normally would. So I think it's going to be fun, though. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. People are going to be really robbed. Hearts are going to be breaking, and we're going to be entertained, hopefully, every step of the way.
Yeah, I think looking at the schedule, I think like 12 people are going in the first week, which I can't even imagine like some of these people going. I know we're going to lose some big names early, and that'll be hard. But I think what we'll have be left with is a fun group. And I'm just hoping for a lot of interest and hype. I'm excited for Stranded to be back because it hasn't been here in a while. So I think this is the perfect way to bring it back, get some of the biggest players of recent years and old years back together to celebrate with season 43, a secret rivals. It's going to be fun. I think we're going to catch them off guard.
Did you say we're losing 12 people in the first week?
I think so. I looked at the schedule.
Oh, hell yeah. I love a
Something
purge.
heart-wrenching. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to rip them out because then we're going to have other twists throughout, like non-eliminations and things.
It's 9 the first week. But
Is it? Did I decrease it? Did I puss out?
If you then, yeah, it works out to 12 pretty quickly.
By Sunday, there will be 12 people gone.
I do.
Yeah, either way.
You're one to pick for the name.
Oh, I think I might pick Jed.
That's so important.
I mean, look who won the first Austranded, so.
I know. Did you listen? The first Austranded was fucking lit, and then we got an Indo version.
I know, we didn't get any Indonesia people. They could have had a three-peat.
And from too many winners already, we're like to do tarot. But Jen's a good pick. All right. If we're the rest of us all picking categories.
Yeah, go ahead, pick.
Should we all
I'll
pick
break
different
from
people?
Cataly. I'm going to say Tyler.
Wait, don't you know nothing about him?
Yeah, you know nothing about him, but I like him.
He knows nothing about Ricard.
And then all these people are going to have different names in 2 days anyway.
All right,
So
let's
Yeah,
pick people that
exactly.
you do know.
I think I'll stray from the Cali pick too. I'll let Joaquin have that. I'm going to go Lindsay.
Okay, that's a hot take. I also say I probably could have picked Nofo.
That would have been go take two.
I don't know. There's a lot of ways this could go, as is usually the case. I could tell you Jacob won't win.
and Jacob and Jillian will win. There you go. But,
I think they will, or they won't.
yeah, 50-50 odds. They will and won't.
Yeah. What if Garrett wins? Best season ever?
I'd
I'm here for
actually
that.
cry if Garrett won. That would
Yeah.
be a national holiday.
Did I speak it into existence?
I hope
Yeah,
so.
isn't he like a real adult now with his
Define
He
adult.
just
like, wrote a
published
book.
Yeah, I have his book sitting on my kitchen counter. I haven't had the chance to read it yet, but
But is it like the Boston Rob Rules, where it's mostly like a BuzzFeed article?
no, it's like a book. It's like a work of fiction.
Sure, it's.
Novel. It's 400 pages long.
Are we sure it's like coherent? No, Garrett's very funny, very smart.
That's when Loveita reads it. She'll let us know if it's Chat GPT or if he actually wrote it.
I think he Chat GPT. You know what? That would be the most Garrett move of all time, is to Chat GPT his first novel.
Honestly, I don't know. I could see it. Like, if he decides to actually take this seriously, like, this is a group of people he could actually do that with.
I think
No.
the problem is, Walk, is that I think he's taken every game he's played seriously. I think it would be better if he didn't take this seriously, to be honest.
Garrett,
no, that's-
whatever your instinct is, do the opposite.
Yeah, Garrett, maybe don't start a public call out thread on day one. We'll see what happens. We got a group here. I'll tell you that. It's gonna be fun.
Do you think that there's 30 people?
I know. And it's gonna be even like, I feel like this is not the real season. I feel like after the first week we'll get the real group of players that we'll be dealing with. I could be very wrong. I could be like, the earlier boots might be the most entertaining. We don't know.
How many rivals do we think make it through the purge week?
Do you think that they'll catch? This is a better question. Do you think that they'll catch on to the fact that they're playing with rivals as partners?
I think maybe one or two of the rival pairs will.
I'm gonna guess like midway through the season they figure it out.
I don't know. I think they're like the recent people who know each other win. I don't think that like enough to like be like, this is hard people we're partnered up specifically.
Okay. To me, I'm thinking like, oh, it's gonna be very obvious after a while. But I guess maybe some of these rivalries are not like, I don't know. They're not like as if we had. Some of them are very obvious, like Allison and Dean, Eric and Jillian. Lindsay and Will. But a lot of them might be vague. Like they might have had 3 or 4 people you could have picked as rivals potentially, or they were just like in opposite alliances.
I don't know, but even Allison, are people gonna think that she's playing? Are gonna be like Tara? Is she there? Or think that Dan is even on the radar?
I planned to reveal who they were after they were voted out.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah.
Okay, actually, yeah, no, I like that a lot. They'll catch on at some point then. But I think to begin with, they'll think that they were paired with somebody that's related in some way to them. But I don't think they'll think it's rivals for a while.
I think midway through they'll figure it out. But I think like some people will figure it out. Like Cataly and some of the sharper players will figure it out. I guarantee some people, like Jillian's never going to figure that out.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
just hope she-
Jacob ain't
dude,
figuring it out.
If Jillian survives the first week, and like, I'll order us all shots or something.
Hold you to that.
One last guessing game. How many showmances will Jillian have? Last time she was in 3.
Well, let's see. On her starting tribe,
Definitely Dean.
Dean, Johnny Bear, Gareth.
oh no, John Robert's playing a girl. I don't think she'll go for that.
Maybe Ian. Ian might
Maybe
fall for it.
Ian. I mean, she'll try to have one with every male rep on the tribe.
Yeah, she's in heat. Someone put some water on her.
She's got an age range. Isn't she anywhere between 20 and 50?
But yeah, she's only 29, so wink, nudge, nudge.
Dude, that might be something only we get. Blair. Oh, Kimmy, are you like... No, he's not even in this.
No, Kimmy's not on. He applied and then had to dip out.
Oh yeah, those from my Lowe's extension.
Yeah, Kimmy's one of those he's good commentary, but playing is like very boring. Like Kimmy will 1000% be someone's number 2 all the way through, never screw them over, and just get voted out as a loyal ally, but be hilarious and confessional. So we might as well just have her do commentary throughout this season. Love you, Kimmy. If you do ever come back, please don't do what I just said. All right, that's going to be it. It's very late now. We went way over, but we had a lot to talk about. I look forward to this. We got 2 more days. I've got a lot to do in the next 2 days to get ready for it, but I do think this is going to be a fabulous season with great twists. So with that, this is going to be Poody out.